Check it out. I'm coming through as the Mushroom Kingdom's representative. Public Enemy and your setter man. My words could either hype you up or be an intentional sedative when I get the scissors to scissor them in and put them in a sediment. Because my thoughts is relevant. And what happened is, this is the reason why I'm starting to shy away from digital games. And it's a different thing from what I had said recently, because what I said recently is, and what happened to me was that I bought a digital download code from GameStop. It didn't work. When I tried to use it on my Nintendo Switch, they said it was already used. GameStop ripped me off. They gave me a bad code. They didn't want to return it. Their excuse was it's proprietary, blah, blah, blah. It's owned by Nintendo. Only Nintendo could give you a refund. I spoke to Nintendo. They said that's not true. The vendor should be able to give you a refund. They're perfectly able to fix you up and hook you up and fix the situation. GameStop refused to the bitter end. So, F GameStop. YouTube friendly, family friendly. Now, I still got my GameStop membership because I got to redeem my $5 coupon. And sometimes they got interesting things. But I'm not buying anything digital from GameStop ever again because I don't want to go through that again. Nintendo, they were hesitant at first. They were refusing at first. But you know how you work somewhere and the people in the front, let's say, some of them don't really know what's going on. They're not there for that long. They're seasonal work or whatever. They don't really know the ins and outs of everything. So it's like, no, I can't help you with that. And then sometimes with some issues, eventually you get to somebody in some weird department somewhere where they go, oh yeah, this happens once in a while, so we're going to hook you up. We're going to help you out. So what Nintendo had me do was print all my receipts and all my proof of purchases, write my email on it, send it to them. It was weird. And then they gave me a refund and reimbursed me. It was like $3-4 less than what I paid. But I'm pretty sure that's because when you buy a gift card or a digital code, that tax that goes to the government cannot be reimbursed. So that's probably the tax. But they gave me back, it's $60 game, $63, something that I paid. They gave me back like $58 or something, which I'll take it. And I immediately bought a game. So, and by the way, Nintendo reimbursed me, not GameStop. Nintendo helped me out. So that speaks well for Nintendo. Now, Nintendo, Xbox, Sony, Microsoft, PlayStation, none of them are extremely elegant in dealing with their digital gaming. All of them cancel games that you paid for. Games go missing. There's all kinds of issues with Microsoft, Xbox, with Sony, PlayStation, and with Nintendo. I like Nintendo games. I like retro stuff. I like nostalgic stuff. And I like the new stuff. And graphics aren't my number one thing. I like games that are fun. That's why I'm mainly a Nintendo person. I got a PS4. One of my favorite systems ever was a PS2. I got an Xbox 360. I got to fix the little rubber band so that the tray can open close. Anyway, the reason I'm shying from digital games is that experience I just told you about. That's in my previous video. And the fact that it's a little bit tricky sometimes. Now, this is what this video is really about. I just purchased a couple of games, right? One of them happened to be New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Love that game. So here's what happens. When you buy a game from the Nintendo eShop, everything's going to be just fine. When you buy a digital or physical game, when you buy a digital game. When you buy a digital game off Nintendo eShop, it's all good. You got your game. Now, you're going to have that game under the Nintendo Switch profile or eShop profile, which is the same thing, that it's under, right? But if you go on Nintendo.com and you got a profile over there, you can name it whatever you want. You could even name it the same as your Nintendo Switch profile / eShop profile. But it doesn't mean that game's going to land on your Switch. It means you purchased that game under the profile that you made on Nintendo.com that corresponds to the email address you used to make that profile on Nintendo.com, right? So don't be surprised if one day you see, here's the thing. Your Nintendo Switch profile / eShop profile is tied to an email address. If you go on Nintendo.com and make a profile and make purchases, you have to use the same email address. If not, your game is gonna seem like it's stuck in limbo. Like, why isn't it on my Switch? It's a little bit of an IQ test, but these days with all these emails and everything, you think you got it all under control, right? And the thing pops up on one of your Switches. Why didn't it pop up on my other Switch, the game I bought, right? So what I realized is that when I was on Nintendo.com buying New Super Mario, I was under my Nintendo.com profile that corresponds to a certain email address. And I threw myself off because I named myself on Nintendo.com the same name as a different profile on my Nintendo Switch and on my eShop that corresponds to another email address. So I didn't realize which email address my Nintendo game purchase was under. And when you buy a video game, when you buy a digital game, you're not thinking of email addresses. You're just thinking of your Nintendo Switch profiles, right? So this is what I'm telling you. When you're a consumer, you don't know. You're just like, where's my game? Where is it? You know, you just like that, right? And the general public is like, in many ways, you know, and including me, including normal people. We're just too busy. We're working hard. We got a lot on our plates, a lot going on, and you know, and we do things like, you know, for leisure and for relief, cool stuff, whatever you want to do. I ain't out robbing and sticking people up. Instead, buy this candy and then I'll play this video game. So, what I'm saying is, make sure you always use the same freaking email address. So what I had to do was import my Nintendo Switch profile that was on the Switch that the game did download into my other Switches, because I got an OG, a Lite, and an OLED, and it only landed on the OG because the email that I use to make a profile on Nintendo.com, I used that same email to make another like secondary Nintendo Switch eShop profile on my OG Switch. So my new Mario game landed on there. I thought it was under my regular profile, but it's not. It's under this secondary profile. Both of them are on the OG Switch, so I could play my new game on there. I go to my other Switches because I'm laying in bed with my Switch Lite. My Switch Lite is my favorite Switch, honestly. I like the OLED. It's better. It's the best one. But I don't use it as much as the Lite because the Lite is light. And I got the grips, and it's just more comfortable. And when it falls on my face, causing my freaking face to break in half, it's the Lite instead of the OLED smashing in my nose, right? So anyway, I imported, and it's not the easiest. It's not impossible, and it's not that hard. It actually is easy. But for the general public, again, and if you're older or even if you're young, I mean, you're just a normal person, you got things on your mind, importing a Nintendo Switch profile into another Switch from one Switch to the other, it's not the most simplistic, easy to understand, fluid process. All right, is that fair enough? And there's multiple ways to do it. There's erase it off the old Switch and put it on the new one. There's changing your primary Switch, which Switch is your primary Switch, and that's a whole can of worms, because when you are on a Switch that's your primary Switch, all the profiles could play all the games that are on there, right? If you need internet access, you still need to have internet access for certain things, certain online functionality and certain subscription and certain things, right? But if you're on your primary Switch, any profile can play any of the games, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you're on one of your secondary Switches, you could only play a game if it's under the profile that you chose. So anyway, coming back to my the situation that happened buying a digital code under a specific email address related profile on Nintendo.com. It went to my secondary Nintendo Switch profile that is on my primary Switch, along with my primary Nintendo Switch profile. My other Switches, including my Lite, which I use the most, did not have the secondary. It only has my primary account, my kids' account, and my shorty's account. I didn't have my little secondary part 2 other joint Malo Malo Renaissance Ninja account. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have that other dimension in it. So, long story short, and you may have figured this out, but I bet you didn't, right? Is that I had to import my secondary Nintendo Switch account into my secondary Switches. Why? Because that's the one that was connected to the email that I used to create the profile on Nintendo.com that I purchased the new game from. Capiche? Everybody got more than one email. One of your emails is professional@gettingajob.com, and your other email is Hot Puerto Rican Mommy Princess Part 5. So you got to know which email you're using. You got to know which profile you're using on Nintendo.com. You know, it's kind of like Amazon. Depending on what freaking profile you're signed into on Amazon, you may or may not get what you're ordering. You may or may not see your old order list. The same thing has happened to me with Uber with these apps. So apps, you know, these things will kind of function in similar ways. But when you freaking buy a digital game, you want that game on all your Switches. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, maybe Google should fix this. Just combine all the friggin', if you combine in all the emails in my phone, combine it with Nintendo. Just invade and infiltrate everything with the third eye Illuminati vision like you do everything else. Everybody knows everything you're doing, tracking everything you're doing. Why can't it be easier and more, what's the comfortable word of the vocabulary, sir? Convenience. Convenience. Why can't it be more convenient to be purchasing a digital game library? And why do gaming companies eventually kill games off? That's another issue of shying away. That's another reason to shy away from digital games. Yeah, it's convenient because you don't got to carry the cartridge around and switch it from Switch to Switch. But the good thing about physical games is they can't cancel it. Look at what happened with Mario 35. Even though it was free, they just ripped it out of your hands. That was one of the greatest games I ever played, and they canceled it. And they brought Pac-Man 99 after that, which is dope. But after robbing us of Mario 35, it kind of put the kibosh on Pac-Man 99. It was like, yeah, Pac-Man 99 is cool, but you know what I mean? It's like you would a fly chick, and then you dump her and get a new one, and the new one is whack because she catfished you on Instagram. You know what I mean? And that's what Pac-Man 99 is for me. I'm sorry, Pac-Man 99. I'm sorry. And there are stories of people of all different platforms. And I think, I don't think Nintendo's the worst with this. I think it's on a PlayStation. I don't know. You PlayStation people, let me know. But there's people that have purchased digital games that just disappear. They don't have it no more. And that is a complete freaking disaster. I'll be so pissed. So, buy physical games if you don't want the headache, or master your online profiles, personas, and Switch mastery. When you go on Nintendo.com, they actually do a decent job doing the troubleshooting that no one wants to do. We just want customer service to fix my thing. But if you actually go to Nintendo.com at FAQ and troubleshooting, they got a couple decent pages on there that will explain the difference between a primary Nintendo Switch, a secondary Nintendo Switch, how to import profiles between Switches, and how to get your games and your save data from one Switch to the other. Their explanation is not how I got my games from one Switch to the other. I did the save data thing. I don't know what it did, though. And I did it before I ended up getting the game on my secondary Switch when I figured out that I was using the wrong profile. etc., etc. You see how this gets really in the weeds. But I had to start from scratch. It didn't save the save game data. And I'm not a big save game data guy. I'm real casual with it. If I lose my save game data, honestly, I'm just playing Super Mario Bros. Part 1 from level 1, and I'll still be happy. I'm smiling. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I lost my progress. Get that, that's not me. But that should be easier too, and I can see how people would get mad about that type of stuff. But tell me what you think. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, leave me a comment, support me, send me money, send me all types of stuff for free. Hook me up, sponsor me, and send me video games. Mainly, number one. Send me video games and money, but mainly video games. You know what I'm saying? Peace.